Welcome, everybody, to an all-new special edition of Animated Critics Episode 8, where we take a look at the upcoming film, The Expendables. Now, this is a film both you and I have been eagerly awaiting, and I like its late summer release date. It's the same position that Inglourious Basterds had last year. I don't think it's going to be as widely seen as that film, but I do think this is going to be a solid late summer hit.
This is really Stallone's comeback. First he had Rocky and then Rambo. This is just a brand new 80s action flick, which sets it apart from both of those movies. It was smart of him to have done those two first before attempting something like this, because he's already back in the limelight, so to speak, from that.
It's very surprising the recent string of hits that Stallone has compiled and this kind of comeback he has, because what other action star in his 60s has been able to do this, except for, let's say, Clint Eastwood, who never really fell that far out of grace. But to be honest, and I'm a Stallone fan here, in the beginning part of last decade, he was really out of touch with audiences, and he had straight-to-video films that weren't very good. And to come back to this kind of level of national attention is truly remarkable.
Again, just from, Rocky and Rambo has gotten himself up here to have another shot, another chance at it. And I don't really know what the problem was with those straight-to-video movies, that why they never caught on. It's strange to see him go from those to something like Rambo, which is just so well done.
Well, I think Stallone finally decided to step back behind the camera. This is 3 films in a row that he's directed. That's his longest stint doing that since the mid-'80s. And this is the first film he's directed that hasn't been a Rocky or a Rambo since Staying Alive in 1983. So this is really, he's a very good director. I think a very underrated director.
Well, I mean, Stallone, I think, is first and foremost an actor-director, I guess. And so, from everything that I've heard him say and everything that I've seen about it, he's pretty much been just taking a back seat and letting these guys do it, all their stuff. I mean, you got pro fighters in here, you got wrestlers. Like, these people have all fought before. They know how to fight. They know what a real fight should be like. And they're probably just going to have a lot of fun with it, so might as well let them go. Let them have at it.
It was smart to push this film, I believe, back to late August. It separated itself from The Losers and The A-Team, which both didn't hit expected grosses. I would be surprised if this didn't do well, because both those 2 films built up a considerable amount of goodwill with audiences, I believe, especially the demographic that they're shooting for with this.
If you look at the original Predator versus this new Predators, the big difference is that people have been saying is that in the original you had a group of extremely huge dudes running around and doing stuff. And in the new one, it's a bunch of skinny guys. It's Topher Grace, for crying out loud. Expendables really harkens back to that, getting a group of really tough guys together. When he set up a lot of the bad guys and stuff, they were shooting down in Brazil, and he didn't just go for the normal guys. He went and got a bunch of MMA fighters from Brazil to actually be the bad guys, so to speak, from that. But more so, he's always been the kind of person to put the movie first before his body. You can see that already just in the news and stuff, how he's already has had to put off surgery and stuff in order to just keep the movie going, and he's broken his neck. I mean, big time stuff here.
You can see that physicality in his movies, and that's why I'm a fan, and that's why I believe a lot of people are fans of him. Yeah, there's no shortage of testosterone in this lineup of guys here. He has pretty much the toughest guys that are in front of the camera that you can assemble. He's repairing with Dolph Lundgren, who's his great nemesis from Rocky IV, Jason Statham and Jet Li, who had a film together back in 2007, War, which didn't do big business, but they each have a modest following in their own right. Marketing on this has been exceptional. They've hit UFCs, they've hit WWFs, they hit all sorts of NBA finals. Every male knows this film is coming out. Whether you're going to see it or not, you are absolutely aware that this film comes out on August 13th.
I mean, this movie's really hit a spot, I think, in a lot of action fans, especially with the Call to Arms fan trailer and stuff. It really just hits the nail right on the head, where people are saying, go out and support. If you're going to support one action movie this year, support this movie, because this is your one shot at bringing back R-rated stuff. And Lionsgate is really the last holdout at this point to continue on with R-rated action films.
Yeah, I want to give a big props to Lionsgate for making pulling the trigger and letting this be an R-rated film. That's listening to your fan base. You might lose a few bucks on the theatrical side, but you're going to make this up by word of mouth. If this had been through Warner Brothers or Paramount or Sony, I'm not sure that this would have been R-rated. I think they would have gone the PG-13 route.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, even watching some of the clips on the internet and the trailers, behind the scenes stuff, you can see that this is going to be a gory movie, which is fantastic.
Let's talk about some of the controversy that's surrounded this film. See, as with the Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Sylvester Stallone incident, apparently Stallone offered Van Damme a role in the film, and Van Damme wasn't happy with either the script or the money being offered. Depends on which side you listen to, but it's been a somewhat public battle between the two, and quite surprising, given the nature that Van Damme has always had high praise for Stallone. Do you think that Stallone has written Van Damme off and wouldn't include him in a sequel if this film did well?
I don't think he's going to write him off for a sequel. Stallone strikes me as a pretty easygoing guy.
There was also the Steven Seagal incident where Stallone apparently offered him a role in the film, and Seagal declined not because of anything to do with Stallone, but because of some sort of dispute he had with Millennium Films producer Avi Leshner and those people. So it's unfortunate that he couldn't get those two icons in the film, but Stallone himself has said everything happens for a reason, and the cast that he wants has filled everything beyond expectation.
I'm not surprised that he really turned it down. He's already got Machete, so he is going to be in theaters. Van Damme, I'm a little surprised. I don't. I mean, he really was pushing to make an actual comeback and to be a real actor again. And now here he is turning down a great role in a movie that's perfect for him. So, I mean, what's his next move, really? Just to continue announcing movies that he'll never be in and will never get made, I guess.
Another cast member that you necessarily haven't heard about is actor Gary Daniels, who we had the pleasure of interviewing on our site here, and he had nothing but high praise to say about Sylvester Stallone. Coincidentally, in Stallone's recent AICN talkback, he mentioned Gary Daniels and quoted it as saying he was the second toughest son of a bitch on the set. I guess that was a joke referring to Stallone as the toughest, but nonetheless, they both had very high things to say about each other, and I'm excited to see what kind of role Gary Daniels has in the film. Reportedly, he's fighting Jet Li and Jason Statham 2-in-1, and he had the chance to choreograph it. Which brings us to our cameos of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis, which they tried to keep under wraps for some time, but slowly leaked out that they had filmed some scenes, and now the marketing department has kind of shown those scenes in the trailer, which I hope doesn't raise audiences' expectations, thinking they're going to see a lot of Schwarzenegger and Willis. I do believe it's only one scene. Willis might have two, but I know for a fact Schwarzenegger has a very, very small role in it. Do you think audiences are going to expect more than that one scene? You think they're going to come out unsatisfied because of those cameos in a way?
Most people know that it's just a cameo just by word of mouth. And they immediately latched onto that one scene with the three of them, put it in the trailer, put it all together. They're using Schwarzenegger's and Willis's name up there amongst everyone else's name as if they're actually in the movie.
I expect us to do anywhere between 75 and 110 million here in the U.S. and, another 110 outside the U.S.
I would love to say 120, but probably 110. Worldwide, 250. Why not?
I just want to point out that if you're a fan of these films, you need to go see these in the theater and get the word of mouth out there. Because if they're not going to make these films if you don't go show up and see them, we need R-rated, hard R-rated action films for adult audiences like this out in the marketplace. Everything's becoming too watered down, too PG-13, and Lionsgate, once again, props to you for releasing this in a hard R format, and I hope the audience shows up to support that.
August 13th, this Friday, the Expendables.
Check back with us next weekend to find out how Expendables did at the box office.